Rashard Brooks is not the same as George Floyd. Stick around, we're going to discuss why.
We've got to cut through the noise.
I hope everybody is having a good weekend, safe weekend, spending time with your friends and your family. I was offline for a couple of days, out in the wilderness doing some camping. When I came back and I got access to the internet again, I found out there had been another tragic death at the hands of police in Atlanta. And I do mean tragic. I personally am of the conviction that anytime somebody loses their life, criminal or not, deserving or not, if they did something like, I don't know, run from police and take their taser and aim it at them, I still think that a loss of life is a tragedy. Rashard Brooks over the weekend lost his life, and we're going to discuss what exactly happened. We have video footage now that's come out, and we've caught the media in their lies again. Before we discuss it, make sure that you're subscribed, hit all notifications so you don't miss out next time that we upload. Now here's Rashard Brooks. Like I said, he was tragically shot Friday night, I believe, after the police were called to a car in the Wendy's drive-thru. The driver was Rashard Brooks. He was what people thought to be sleeping or incapacitated at the time. He wasn't moving. People were having to drive around him. So the police show up. We don't have video footage of what happened up until the point of discussion. But just to show you what the narrative was, here's the New York Post. When this first came out, unarmed black man shot dead by Atlanta cops in Wendy's drive-thru. Now, of course, if we look at the latest rendition of the same article, conveniently it's been changed to the title of Black Man Shot Dead by Atlanta Cops in Wendy's drive-thru. So all of a sudden he was armed. Now we have video footage. No, he was armed. Here's what happened. Rashard Brooks, after the police showed up, got into an altercation with the police. We have video footage of this. He managed to get a hold of one of the officer's tasers, and then he seemingly ran off in the other direction. One officer was directly behind him. Rashard Brooks turns around and points the taser at him. Then the officer in question, who has now been fired, by the way, the officer in question shot Rashard, and he ended up dying from those wounds. Now we do have video of this altercation. First is from cell phone footage of somebody in a car behind where the police are. And keep in mind, this is at the Wendy's drive-thru. Okay, so people are videoing. As you can see, they got him on the ground right now. But then he is grabbing the taser right there, throws him on the ground like he's nothing. I mean, these guys can't handle him. So now they're wrestling with him. He managed to throws the other one on the ground. He's got the taser, hits him a couple times, and now he is running off. And I'm not going to play the sound, but you can hear the sound of a couple shots being fired. And there he is on the ground. Here's from a different view from a camera on Wendy's. As you can see, he points the taser at the officer who is directly behind him. The officer then fires his weapon and fatally kills Rashard Brooks. Now the officer has since been fired, and heads are rolling. I mean, the police chief of Atlanta, the one who has been so heroic, and the left have been praising her actions during the protests and all this stuff, all the riots following the death of George Floyd. The police chief has stepped down from this. Now, let me just give you a few facts of this scenario. because it's so easy to see this footage and be like, well, I would have done this, I would have done that. But when you're in that moment, you don't have time for your feelings. What I'm trying to say is, this officer, in that moment, after he had a very physical altercation and frankly got overpowered by Rashard, the suspect is now fleeing the scene on foot and has your taser in one hand. You're right behind him, running, adrenaline pumping, and he then points that taser back at you. The officer, in my opinion, was not out of line to fire his weapon at him. If Rashard Brooks was able to incapacitate that officer, he would have had access to his firearm. Keep in mind, his firearm was in his hand. The officer had his firearm in his hand. And Rashard Brooks points a taser at him? What do you think he's trying to do? Well, he was just trying to get away. Why resist in the first place? This is a question that comes up over and over and over again. Now, I gotta be honest, I've never really had any altercations with law enforcement, but I would imagine that the best chances come from not resisting arrest. Now, I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, George Floyd, that was an isolated incident. Those police have been fired. The whole nation came against them. That was wrong. But not all police are that way. This situation is in no comparison to George Floyd. Rashard Brooks was able to overpower two officers, gain access to one taser, run off, point it at an officer who was holding a firearm. If he was successful in that, he would have had access to a firearm, and who knows what would have happened. Now we're getting into the land of fantasy, because we don't know what would have happened, but it's not that hard to assume what would. People, of course, are outraged that this happened, and I understand. It is a tragedy. It's not something we celebrate when police have to fatally shoot somebody. It's not a win in my book. I would prefer that people don't die. That's what I would prefer every time. But like I said, heads are rolling. Atlanta police officer was fired following this fatal shooting of a man, and another officer was placed on administrative duty. The terminated officer was Garrett Rolfe, who was hired in 2013. Protesters on Saturday night, that's yesterday night, set fire to the Wendy's restaurant where Brooks was fatally shot the night before. I don't understand the outrage here. Somebody please help me understand this. The attorney for the see if I can find this. Oh, here we go. The attorney of Brooks' family. Here we go. Chris Stewart, an attorney for Brooks' family, said the officer who shot him should be charged for an unjustified use of deadly force, which equals murder. He then... Now, this is very crafty. This is a very crafty strategy from him, but he says, you can't have it both ways in law enforcement. You can't say a taser is non-lethal weapon, but when an African American grabs it and runs with it, now it's some kind of deadly lethal weapon that calls for you to unload on somebody. That's a gross generalization of what happened. And here's why. I've already said it. The officer had his weapon drawn on him. He's running after him after Brooks overpowered the both of them. Maybe they should maybe we should have a little bit more PT in our police departments. Why was a man able to overthrow two grown men that are active duty police officers. That shouldn't happen. But anyways, he was able to overthrow them. He now has their taser. He points it at him. And what? He's supposed to just let him... Is the police officer supposed to just be like, oh, okay, it's okay. You can tase me. I have my gun out. I'm probably going to drop it when you tase me. So that's okay. The officer had to make a split-second decision. And frankly, I think he made the right one. It's not something I celebrate. It's not a win in my book. But it is the right decision. We're at a point in our country, especially right now, there's a lot of tension between defunding police and raising funding for police. Something's got to change. Let me know what your thoughts are on this situation in the comments down below. And I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching till the end of the video. I really appreciate it. I joke around a lot, do a lot of stupid things, but really, it means a lot. You can watch any of these other videos popping up and subscribe if you haven't yet. It means a ton. Thanks again.